Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Mark Goldberg and I'm a volunteer with SCORE. I assume that most of you attended the first session, but as we indicated, we will do some review for those of you who didn't. Since this is a second session, I'm going to dispense with some of the usual introduction. I just want to remind you that SCORE is ready to help you to achieve your business goals and encourage you to reach out for free and confidential mentoring from experienced business people who are volunteers at your local chapter. Just go to www.score.org and click on Find a Mentor tab to get started. A quick note on today's procedures. All participants other than Matt and myself are muted. We ask you to enter your questions in the Q&A function, not the chat function, the Q&A function using the button you see at the bottom of your screen. I will then review them, and as Matt takes a breath, and I think it's appropriate, we'll ask the question as we go rather than waiting to the very end. We'll try and answer as many questions as we possibly can. Those that we can't, we'll try and get back to you after we are finished. Be aware that the webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you a link to the recording for everyone who registered for today's session. So without further ado, Matt Stevens is our subject matter expert today and is going to take us to the next step.
Next step in SEO. Thank you as always, Mark. Let's share the screen here. All right, and please let me know. Give me the old thumbs up if you guys can see this.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make it a little easier on ourselves.
We can see it.
And by easier on ourselves, I mean easier on me. You guys can see it right here too, or no?
Yep.
Awesome.
I see thumbs up.
Fantastic. So today, like we talked about, we're jumping into search engine optimization part 2. What does this mean? Where do we go from here? We already learned so much in the first presentation. What's left to learn? Well, there's a lot, unfortunately. Today, we're going to cover 3 major aspects of SEO, all very important in their own ways. Number 1, we're going to talk about keyword research, the concepts, tools to use, and how to use those keywords. Next, we're going to jump into local SEO. In my opinion, the most important thing for Cape Cod businesses. We're very reliant on walk-in traffic. However, if you're joining us from outside of the Cape Cod chapter, this is also very important for you. I know we saw some people from Port St. Lucie, Boston, Lawrence. Always important to show up on the local maps system. And next, we're going to be talking about ongoing SEO, updating a website, which I call the pivot, right? Creating quality content, and finally, industry outreach and backlinks, the scariest word in SEO. One thing that I will say, SEO is always changing. However, these 3 things have been very stagnant throughout the entire fluctuation of where we've gone with SEO over the past decade or more. Right? So last workshop review, let's talk about it. Talked about what SEO is. SEO stands for the search engine optimization. It stands for search engine optimization, and it refers to the process of optimizing a specific web-based system, either a website, social media, etc., to rank higher within a search engine rankings page. And this doesn't just apply for Google. It applies for YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Yelp, TripAdvisor, et cetera, et cetera. Every single application nowadays has a search engine. It has to happen. And those are all focused on the most optimized listings, social media pages, et cetera. What is a target market? We covered target market and competitive advantage at length last time. Target market is basically the audience that you're looking to sell your products or services to, and they are broken down into customer personas. And we talked about customer personas as digital landscapes of your perfect customer. What are their demographics? What are their cultures? What are their buying traditions, et cetera, et cetera? And how can you optimize your website for that particular target market in a way that attracts and retains those potential customers, the ones that are actually going to push the button, right? And then finally, what's a competitive advantage? It's a unique edge that allows a business to outperform competitors in the market. A lot of times, if you go to a marketing class, they'll tell you there's two different ways to have a competitive advantage, right? It's either cost differentiation or it's general differentiation, meaning a different type of quality, different type of quantity, different type of vibe, etc. Right? So that differentiation factor is really what you want to identify within your store. What sets you apart on Main Street? What sets you apart online? Well, those need to coincide into one package that you can sell not only on the digital, but in person as well. So let's jump into keyword research. Now, this is a pretty big topic, but last time we talked about the three different types of keywords. You can talk to a bunch of different SEO technicians. They can disagree with me here. They might not split keywords into three different columns, right? But I do it because it's easier to understand. And we talked about the umbrella, we talked about the web, right? Your core keyword is your central keyword. That is the keyword that generally, in a vague sense, simplifies your entire business. If you're a landscaper in Worcester, Mass, well, then your core keyword might be Worcester landscaper, right? Or even landscaper. Uh, and then you have your fringe keywords, the keywords that describe your competitive advantage, your services, your products, the different types of things that you offer that set you apart from other businesses. And then finally, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to jump over. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry, guys. Yeah, no, it's only stopping at fringe here, unfortunately. So we're not going to be able to see the last type of keyword, which is the niche keyword. The niche keywords are really the keywords that you're looking to rank for. They're easier to rank for, even though they have less volume, but they summarize very important finite choices that define your target market. So our example here, we have flower, florist, Cape Cod, right? So we're talking about a Cape Cod florist. Well, then they offer roses for Valentine's Day, maybe, bouquets, and Harwich, right? It's a little bit more specific. And then finally, with the niche keywords, maybe we're talking about, like I said, for roses, Valentine's Day, like I said, for bouquets, bouquet delivery, or fast bouquet delivery. And then Harwich, maybe we're talking about Main Street in Harwich, right? You can always go a little bit more niche down from your core. But the way that we build a website, right? You want to craft a list of one core keyword, 3 to 6 fringe for your products and services, and at least 10 niche keywords for whichever platform you're optimizing. And just to go over the general idea, the easiest way to start this is to start by taking a pad of paper or some type of document, Microsoft Word, Google Docs, whatever it may be, and just sit down and type out your core keyword. And then underneath that, all right, with that core keyword in mind, what are some fringe keywords that I can have my products or services rank for? Talking about the landscaper, well, services, we can talk about lawn mowing, we can talk about weeding, and we can talk about sodding, right? Those are three different types of fringe keywords. And then niche keywords, how do you do that? What are you a specialty in? When you're talking about weeding, maybe you specialize in weeding stone walls. Well, that's something that we might want to create some type of content on. But if you start by crafting that list, it's the easiest way to jump in and outline your strategy for what we're going to talk about next. Before we do that, though, last session we had a great question. I had some letters, right? HHLL underneath each one of our keywords. I want you guys to forget about that. What's important are two concepts that relate to every single keyword, right? Keywords are either short tail or they're long tail. Short tail keywords are broad, general search terms consisting of 1 or 2 words that are very high competition and very high volume. So, for instance, running shoes. If you type in running shoes, who's going to come up? Nike, Adidas, New Balance, on cloud maybe. It's going to be very hard if you're a shoe store to rank for running shoes. However, if you look at the long tail keyword, which are much more specific, longer phrases that indicate much more focused searcher intent, then you have an opportunity. They're going to be low volume, less people are searching for them, but it's also going to be less competition. Nike, yeah, they could still show up for this. However, it levels the playing field in a way where if your content is better than a company like Nike or a company like Adidas, which it very well can be, you might be able to rank for a keyword like that. Best running shoes for flat feet, right? So, like I said, short tail, higher search volume, but much more competitive. Long tail keywords are lower search volume and less competitive. So going back to those letters, if you were here last time, HH meant high volume, high competition. LL meant low volume, low competition. And when I'm talking about intent, this is very important as well. And just let's pause here. I think that this is a good spot to pause. Do we have any questions?
Yes, there's a request to remind me, will the presentation be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded and available afterwards and sent to you.
Awesome. So, and with that being said, we got to take a little breather. One thing that I did talk about last time is searcher's intent, and searcher's intent matters, right? Um, there's four different types of searcher's intent. When we're talking about focusing within a searcher's intent, we're talking about identifying what is the action that a searcher needs to take once they find this particular keyword. So, for instance, if they're searching pancakes near me, I don't know, I'm in the mood for pancakes. What can I say? Chances are they want to find a place where their service is going to be cooking pancakes. Or if I'm looking up running shoes, chances are I want to purchase running shoes. So going through, there's four types of intent. The most common is the informational intent. These are basically users with informational intent are seeking answers or knowledge. They're looking to answer questions, they're looking to become more informed, and they're doing research on something. Additionally, navigational intent are people that are specifically looking for a brand, a service, or a product that is widely known through the brand, right? So if someone types in an iPhone, where are they going? They're going to Apple. They're not going to go to some random dude who's writing a blog on iPhone. They want to go to iPhone. And chances are that keyword could also have transactional intent. Because transactional intent is people that are searching want to actually make a purchase of a product. They don't want anything else. They want to go in, they want to research potential products that they can purchase. So, underneath each one of these, if you wanted to look at, there's some tips for each one of those intents. And we're going to send out this slide deck as well. And finally, commercial. Commercial investigation, it's commercial intent. That's a little typo. Commercial intent means people are looking to purchase a service or research a service, right? They're looking to identify some type of ongoing service that they can take part in. The way to separate transactional and commercial typically, there's some small things that might negate this rule, um, but typically transactional means products and commercial means services. So if you're a landscaper, you're looking for commercial intent, and if you're selling dog food, you're looking for transactional intent.
Okay, before we move on, Matt, we got another question. Do you use all the keywords together?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're going to talk about application of keywords, but what I would recommend is in order to have kind of a bird's eye view of your website, the best thing that you can do is put them all together and build them out almost like an umbrella, right? Your core keyword at the top, then you have your fringe keywords, right? Right down here. And then underneath each one of those fringe keywords, what are some niche keywords to drive traffic to those fringe keywords? And in that way you kind of build a pyramid, you can build an umbrella. A lot of times I joke and say that's the easiest way to build a web, like a spider's web, because the core keywords in the middle, then you have your fringe keywords around it, and then your niche keywords all the way around that. If you connect all of them, you're building a web. That's why they call it a website. Um, that's not why why they call it a website. We all know that. But just real quick before we jump into application, there's some tools that you can use to make this process easier on you. Um, Personally, I prefer SEMrush. SEMrush is the one that I use. However, I also used um, RFs or HRFs, Moz, Uber Suggest, SpyFu, and Mangools. They all have weird names. I get it. All of them, for the most part, allow you to do some free keyword research. If you're starting from scratch, the best way to kind of jump in and kind of get a general sense of things, I would even look into using like a Chat GPT or a Gemini AI system and just type in, here's my brand, here's my target market, here's my competitive advantage. Can you generate me one core keyword, six fringe keywords for each one of my products or whatever it may be, and then niche keywords for blogs and content that I can write? That's an easy way to start, and then check that work on one of these tools. You can go into Uber Suggest. Uber Suggest gives you 3 free searches. SEMrush gives you a few free searches. They have a 14-day pro trial. Um, and additionally, if you don't want to do that, you can jump over to free tools and you can use Google Search Console, Keyword Planner, Answer Socrates, Answer the Public, YouTube, or Google. One thing that I will say, um, take your hand and just cover up those bottom 5 because really all you need is Google. Google's the easiest way to find keywords. Like I said, the best method to find keywords is free, and you've probably used it today because chances are you might have Googled something earlier today and that's taking you somewhere where you had a specific intent behind your search and it's going to deliver the answer to the questions that you're using. I see a few different questions popping up. Before I jump into this, do we want to cover those questions?
Sure. Um, how would you rate Wix AI keyword program?
Yeah, good one. Wix is doing a really good job as a website builder incorporating SEO. I've seen them really take that to heart and move in that direction, whereas WordPress, Squarespace, GoDaddy, and some others really haven't. I'm not saying Wix is the best website builder by any means. However, they have done a really good job with SEO. So yeah, definitely use that. That's it. Let's move on.
Let's move
Um,
on.
so when you are doing some keyword research, right, one of the easiest things that you can do is you can go to Google and you can type in your keyword. Say, for instance, backpacking tents. This is a fringe keyword. I will tell you right now. If we're looking at backpacking tents, chances are that's at an outdoor store. That's the core keyword. Backpacking tents is a product that that company sells, so backpacking tents would be a great fringe keyword. And a fringe keyword, I'll tell you right now, is right in the middle, right? There might be some high volume and low competition opportunities. We just have to find them. So when I typically am looking for some type of keyword to use as a fringe keyword or as a niche keyword, because chances are you don't need to do keyword search if you with your core keyword. You should know your core keyword. It's the general sense of your business, right? But your fringe keywords and your niche keywords, you definitely should do keyword research on. So if I'm going in here and I'm like, all right, backpacking tents, what do I need to know? What are people asking? What it's going to do is it's going to generate a few different things. It could generate AI right at the top. Typically, that's only going to show up for informational keywords. Um, a lot of times, though, it's going to deliver 2 very, very important things. It's going to deliver a people also ask section and a related searches section. Right here, I have everything that I need to start building a keyword strategy to attain backpacking tents as a keyword for my company. Because if I were to take this information right here with backpacking tents, I would then try to create content for any one of these questions. What tents do backpackers use? What is the best size for tent for backpacking? How heavy is too heavy for a backpacking tent? And why are backpacking tents so expensive? If you're setting up your content strategy for this product, If you if you take those niche keywords, which are all long tail keywords, and write blog content for them, what's going to happen is chances are you're going to rank for one of those keywords, maybe multiple, and that's going to help you rank for the big dog at the top, backpacking tents. Additionally, what you could also do is look over at related searches. Well, a lot of these seem like product names, but one thing that I do see is best ultralight tent, two-person, ultralight backpacking tent, one-person, and ultralight backpacking tent, two-person. Um, if I'm looking at my product, right, and I have backpacking tents, and I have a product that would qualify as an ultralight backpacking tent, two-person, I would take that keyword and use that as the keyword of that product. I would go back to my product and I would change whatever it may be at the moment, maybe two-person backpacking tent to ultralight backpacking tent for two people, or best ultralight tent for two people. Maybe not best, I wouldn't use that for a product, but you may want to write content on that. But really just focusing on related searches, you just want to use those as your fringe keywords. And people also ask would be really good niche keywords. So that right there is the easiest way to do your keyword research.
Maria has a question.
Yeah.
Does it have to be only one core or could it be more?
Great question. Let's think about this, right? If we're breaking down a particular business, right? Let's just say you're talking about some type of consulting company and they have two focuses within consulting, right? Maybe they focus on like AI consulting and then maybe they focus on like automation consulting. Well, those are two core keywords in and of themselves. So you could have multiple. Now, one thing I would absolutely say not to do not have more than like three core keywords because the core keyword is really the easiest way to tell Google exactly what you do at the simplest notion. If I have a business that just does leadership development and that's my core keyword, if I go in and I start talking about like floral design on my blog or I start talking about like great sleep schedules or morning routines, yeah, that is going to help that core keyword. But if I talk too much about that, it could blur the line. And then Google can kind of look at my website and say, yeah, okay, they're talking a lot about leadership development, but now they're talking about this as well, and they're talking about this as well. What do they do? And you might lose some of your rankings for leadership development at expense for gaining rankings of your others. So just hit the brakes once you get to like two or three, and really focus on just building those core keywords up. I would always recommend just one, though, is to answer your question as simply as possible. If
Matt,
you
we got
can,
another one
yeah,
that's related. Will SEO help land you in the AI overview, or does it require something different?
that's such a good question, and that's something we covered last time. Every AI overview, um, specifically Gemini, right? Gemini is Google's LLM. And Gemini, as it goes, is trained by Google data. Because again, if you're Google and you have this AI language model that you're trying to actually build up, and you have the world's largest source of information, what are you going to do? You're going to train it with the world's largest source of information. So what it's being trained by is the search engine, and a lot of times the information is being gathered from the top 10, top 15, top 20, maybe even top three resources or information regarding a specific topic. So, yeah, even though Gemini is just answering the question at the top, it's taking your information within that search snippet. I have a lot of clients myself on my end of things that we rank for the AI, and you can actually see that on some of the tools that I outlined where your information is being considered for that Gemini. It's going to highlight it, and if someone clicks on it, chances are it could still redirect to your website. So don't worry about that. As time goes on, who knows? But for now, specifically with Google's ownership of the search engine, they're in a really good place for this, and they're always going to use your information to train their chatbot, unfortunately and fortunately.
Matt, before you go forward, there's a
Yep.
question here. I'm not quite sure I understand, but is the keyword the actual question under people also ask?
The keyword, yes, it is. That's a great question, right? So, think about this, right? If you're at home and you have an Amazon Alexa and you're making a nice lasagna, but you're switching it up, right? Maybe you're like, okay, ground beef, I typically use that. Maybe I'm going to use venison, or maybe I'm going to use chicken. No, actually not chicken. Chicken and lasagna. I don't know. But you're using venison, right? Maybe you say, "Hey Alexa, how long to cook venison in lasagna?" Right? That question is then being searched within Google or within Bing or whatever Amazon uses. If you're using Google Voice, same thing, or Google Home, same thing. Um, and that question is being considered as the query. A lot of people, when they're typing in, let's say, for instance, best running shoes for flat feet, that question, what are the best running shoes for flat feet? That is a keyword. That's what people are searching for. So overall, when you're focused on that question, you're specifically building a phenomenal SEO strategy because you're answering the question of your target market and it's giving them value. And chances are that's what's going to allow you to actually build a great customer base. So great question.
Drive
Oh,
on.
so how to use keywords? Well, where do we start? Just to blow through this homepage, your domain page, when you're looking at a website, right? If we're looking at score.com or score.org, I should say, um, and before there's any domain, if you look at score.org or the google.com or any major domain, that home page is the most important page of their entire site because it's their domain page. There's no subdomains after that. So there's no backslash anything. It's just blank, blank, blank.com. That's where you want your core keyword because that's starting the directory of your site. It's typically where Google or any type of web crawler is going to look first to learn any information about you. Your core keyword should be present on your homepage. Next are your important navigation pages. So your about page could also have your core keyword on it for sure, or it could have a fringe keyword that is a little bit more specific than your core keyword. So like your core keyword could be "we are landscapers in Worcester," or your about page could be "we are professional hardscape landscapers in Worcester." Um, you could also have services, products, an our story page, a major like resource page with all of your information. All of those should have fringe keywords, right? A little bit more specific, but not as specific as your niche keywords should be your blogs and your products. One thing that I will say, when I say products within important navigation pages, we're talking about the storefront in general, or we're talking about product categories. So if you run like a Shopify store or a Wix store, whatever it may be, and you sell like socks, hoodies, and jeans, I guess, I don't know, or joggers, right? Those categories need a fringe keyword. But every single one of those products underneath it, like we talked about with those related searches, need niche keywords. So that's typically how you're mapping out your site. So homepage, core keyword. Important navigation pages, fringe keywords. And then any blogs or specific product listings or service listings, niche keywords.
Okay, I got two more questions before we move
Yes.
on. Describe the function of the core product. What if four words are needed, meaning one or two words will not describe it properly?
That's totally fine. If that's a core keyword for you, at the end of the day, that could fall under long tail, which means, of course, it might have a little bit less volume, but it's also going to have less competition. So if you have a core keyword that's more than two words, totally fine. I wouldn't go to like 7 or 8 words because you don't want to get too niche with that core keyword. However, if your business is very niched down, that's totally fine. Great question.
Okay, this is a participant who's looking for a practical example of how to apply the keywords on your site.
Yeah, I mean, I can
So
see it.
can you show your site and how you used keywords?
Yeah, let me see if I can do something at the end here. I might include something within here that will do a practical example, but that's a great idea. So building a page, right? And this is kind of fitting into that practical example on how we apply the keywords. On each page, after setting up your meta description and your meta title, every single web builder is going to have applications where you can put your meta description and your meta title. We talked about this last time. What these are what is going to be shown on the search engine rankings page alone. It's not going to be shown anywhere else. So they're basically the back end of that particular page and what Google is using to put in front of searchers. So what you want to do is you want to make this focused on attracting the attention of the people that are searching. A lot of times with meta titles, I include my niche keyword within, or my fringe keyword, or my core keyword, whatever makes sense for that particular page within the meta title. And in the meta description, you try your best to incorporate that keyword. Sometimes you can't, but if you kind of just make sure that the idea of the keyword is within that meta description, that is going to help you rank pretty heavily. Those are very important. And again, make sure it fits that intent. So if we're talking about a page for, let's say, pool noodles, right? We can, or let's just say pool installation within Lawrence, right? Maybe that page or the about page is Lawrence's trusted pool installation professionals. Boom, you have the keyword. Underneath that, within the meta description, for instance, hello, we're Lawrence's time trusted professionals within pool installations. We are uh, we have over 10 years of experience in the installation of pools, hot tubs, and pool patios. Um, right there, right? Again, that's a commercial intent. People are looking to purchase a service to install a pool, and you're showcasing the keyword. You're showcasing that you're trusted within the industry, and also some of those other things, right? Hot tub, pool patio. Those are some or what are called amplifying keywords, and we're not going to get into that. That might help you with the pool installation keyword because they're related, right? Um, After that, you really want to make sure that your URL structure, so any pages besides your home page, are going to have a backslash and then something after that, right? When you have that backslash, you want to make sure it's clean. Don't copy pages and not change the URL. So if you're copying a page that says best pool installation and you copy that on like a WordPress, your new page is going to be slash best pool installation dash X9ZLV, and that URL is not going to be optimized for that different keyword. So just make sure you're changing that URL. You're using clean, descriptive, and keyword-rich URLs. So if one of your pages is pool installation, and then you have another page that's hot tub installation, once again, these are our main navigation pages for our overall product or service categories. You want to make sure that the URL includes hot tub installation, pool installation includes pool installation, and that's going to make it clean, easy to follow, easy to navigate. Header tags and keyword usage. One of the another easy things that you can do is when you're making a page, I'm not going to go completely into formatting here. Try to limit your page to one H1 header. That's it. You don't want to make any more. A lot of blog creators and Squarespace, Wix, all of that. The title of the blog, that's your H1. Don't add any more. It's going to make it a lot easier. And also try to include the page's keyword within the H1. If you can't do that, it's fine. However, I would really recommend that you try to do that. However, on the same wavelength, you may not want to copy and paste from the meta title. You may want to differentiate it a little bit. I'm going to stop there. I think going into keyword usage and keyword stuffing, we're already talking about a whole lot here. If you do those four things, your meta title, your meta description, your URL structure, and making sure that you have an H1 header on your page, that alone, you are doing better than 88% of other businesses that are online. I should say 88% of small businesses that are online.
Okay, we have another question. How
Yes.
can we tell what customers are searching to find our services? I'm in a metal fabricating business that cuts and bends metal. Our equipment is a fiber laser cutter and CNC press brake. I don't know if people search fiber laser cutting or metal fabrication.
That's a great question. So there's a few ways that you can analyze this, right? Number one, and the easiest way is to set up Google Analytics or Google Search Console. What these are going to allow you to do is analyze your own site traffic on a greater level than just basically piecing it together through form submissions. They're going to show you how people are arriving to your site and what queries they're using to do so. Google Search Console is going to tell you organic search. Google Analytics is going to tell you everything about what you need with users on your page. The other way that you can do is either talk to some type of SEO technician to identify this, or at the same time, use one of those SEO tools. If you type in your domain overview on a lot of those, or if you type in your domain on a lot of those platforms, it can show you a basis of who is going to your site, where you're ranking for specific keywords, and more. I would definitely take a grain of salt with their data, and I would prioritize looking at Google Search Console because Google recently has made some algorithm updates that have shaken up web crawlers for some of those SEO tools. And the easier way is typically just using Google Search Console. Great question, though. Anything else?
Nope, not so
Awesome.
far.
All right, local SEO. I think based on where we're going, I might have to speed up a little bit. We talked about local SEO last time, real quick, right? Everyone wants the near me keyword. I'm right here. I basically went to Manhattan and I typed in pizza near me. And what happened? Well, seven, eight, I'd say over 10 businesses showed up. Imagine what would happen if we scrolled in, right? Hundreds of different pizza places in Manhattan. But why did these 15, 14, however many are here, show up? Well, there's a few different ways. Because they optimize their local SEO. So when we're talking about local SEO strategies, the most important thing that you can do, and we talked about this last time, is get your Google business profile. The reason for this is because you're going to be able to create a new listing, generate reviews on your services and your products, identify your core keyword, and look at this, right? Outdoor sports store, North Chatham Outfitters, Nickerson State Park store, camping store, Eastern Mountain Sports, outdoor sports store. It's giving you a way to add your core keyword to your business listing to allow you to rank for that keyword more often. And it's also going to allow you to update descriptions, add posts, add potential new promotions. And keeping it consistently active is the most important thing that you can do in order to generate local SEO searches. And it's one of the best ways that you can attain that near me keyword. Getting reviews helps a ton as well, but just staying active with it is very, very important. So, real quick, optimize your website for local search. Include location specific keywords in your website's title tags, meta descriptions, headers, and content. If you're a business that's based around a specific area, right, within Chatham, Mass, like look at this Eastern Mountain Sports, EMS Hyannis, Mass, North Chatham Outfitters, Cape Cod Tackle Shop, Chatham, Mass, and then Dick's Sporting Goods, additionally, in Hyannis, Mass. So right there, it's just telling you within the meta title, you don't have to put it in your H1, you could, but within your meta title, what's showing up within the search engine rankings page, try to put that local information within there. Add your business's name, address, and phone number to your website's header, footer, or contact page and ensure consistency. That's going to allow Google to identify exactly where you are based on your area code, based on your address. Embed a Google Maps widget on your contact. That one I'm going to completely nix, so you don't have to do that. I really wouldn't even recommend you do that because it could slow your website down. Uh, and the last thing is ensure your website is mobile friendly. Local searches are conducted on smartphones and tablets now to such an extent that sometimes the most important thing a site can do is just make sure they're mobile friendly. If you're showing up on the cell phone, specifically from searches that are going from your Google business page to your website, it can generate sales, generate restaurant orders, deliveries. It can allow people to book products, services, and even reservations. It's one of the best things that you can possibly do. Because what are people down in the Cape doing most often? Well, they're acting fast. They're here for 3 days, they're here for 5 days. Even a place such as Boston, right? Maybe someone's in town for business, right? You need to capture them quick, and chances are they don't have their desktop with them. They got their cell phone, and that's about it.
Okay, got two more
Yeah.
questions for you. Do you want to put core keywords on every product?
It depends. And I would say flat out no. However, if your core keyword is within your business name, you could, right? So say for instance, your business is Dick's Sporting Goods, right? Dick's sporting goods is their keyword because they're selling sporting goods. But do they need to put it on every product? Not necessarily. And I wouldn't put it on every single one of your product headings or your product pages. The only place that I would ever put it is if we go back, and I don't think I'm able to go back on this tool here. Let me see if I can. Yeah. So if we look at I think it's, yeah, this one right here. You see how in their meta title, North Chatham Outfitters, Cape Cod Tackle Shop, right there. Again, I don't know if that's their core keyword, but that would be the only way that I would recommend doing it within your meta title. That's about it.
Okay, how local is local? Our
Lo-
program sells art anywhere but shows on Cape Cod.
Yeah, I would say that local is as local as you want it to be, right? If you're a landscaper, local, like you can't travel that far, right? If you're a landscaper in Chatham, you're not going to drive off the bridge for a job unless it's a great job. So it really depends on your scope. I would say there's some businesses, like I said here, right? Um, there's some businesses that may not even want to prioritize local. They might be so solid locally that they want to expand outside of locally. Or there could be some national businesses that want to do better on a local basis. It really is a matter of your SEO strategy, and that's something that you're going to have to sit down and outline, um, and where your target market is. If your target market is like New England, well then your local area, you could start in a local area like Cape Cod and then grow to New England eventually. It's just a matter of your strategy. So what now, right? Google My Business, now Google Business Profile. I say Google My Business because I mean I've said it forever. It requires an address or a service area. Um, your online business cannot and should not have one. However, there are other ways to optimize for local business. If you are someone who operates solely online, you do not go to anyone's house, apartment, job site, anything like that, and you don't have a headquarters or a brick and mortar business, at the end of the day, and this is kind of going back to that last question, you may not want a Google My Business because you're not going to show up in a way that makes it make sense, right? You're not going to have people refer to your brick and mortar, and you're also not going to appear as someone who can visit local job sites, local houses in order to provide your services or your products, right? So at the end of the day, what you may want to do is focus on these four things, right? You want to write location-based content for your online business. You want to engage with the location you're looking to generate business in, because who knows, eventually you may want to settle down with a headquarters or some type of distinct area. Um, you may want to gather applicable backlinks from associations in your local area, and you may want to answer questions popular within your local area. One other thing that I'd like to add, if you are a business that collects reviews, even if you are an online business, you actually probably should make a Google My Business. Even though it's not going to appear, it's not going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you within the local SEO. The reviews themselves are going to help you get found. And at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people do use it for is online businesses. The only thing is you're going to have to use your own home address as that business's address. You can hide it just saying that you are an online business. There is no business location. But it's just the process is just a nightmare right now, unfortunately. Um, Right location based content, if you're a landscaper within the Worcester area, you probably want to write specific content that applies to those homeowners. Uh, and engaging, answering questions, and gathering applicable backlinks in a local area is just showing that you care about the area and you're making referral connections where if you do have a Google My Business or if you have associations or other friends or contacts, they may want to give you backlinks, which we're going to talk about pretty shortly. And it never ends. I don't want to spend too much time on ongoing SEO. I think just setting up the site in and of itself is pretty difficult. Let's just talk about these four things and then we can answer some last minute questions. Um, SEO is not an overnight thing. You are never going to be able to hit a button and then tomorrow wake up and there's thousands of people on your site. And whoever tells you that they can get you to number one overnight is either a con artist, and there's a lot within the industry, unfortunately, and a liar, right? It's impossible. The only way that you can do that is one way, right? You can use Google Ads and you can be an absolute genius at it. And that's going to allow you to generate a ton of clicks, right? But you also have to spend a ton of money to do that. SEO is a slow roll. You're never gonna, like I said, you're never gonna wake up to a million, but it's more than capable of delivering a million people to your site. And if with thorough SEO optimization on your site, over time, it's going to save you anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000 a month on ad traffic that you are not paying for because you're generating it organically. So it takes time, it takes trial and error, and continued learning regarding your niche. Anyone can do SEO. All you have to do is pay attention to four things, right? Identify organic traffic, why they're coming to your site, where they're coming to your site, and how they're landing on your site. Update your content on your Google My Business page and your website regularly and stay consistent. Just make sure that Google knows you're alive. That's very important. See how people are using your website. Track bounce rate, time on page, pages per session, all can be done on Google Analytics. You don't have to go above and beyond with Google Analytics. If you have Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, there's applications within those tools that can give you those insights. You don't need to be a data analysis wizard to identify some of the things that people are doing. Just look a little bit under those, just a little bit behind the door or the surface, and really identify and see if you can spot some trends. If you can't spot some trends, find someone who can within your business. Find someone within Score, or even ask ChatGPT, right? We have these tools for a reason. And then finally, look at your competitors. What are other people doing around you? Are they doing better than you? Why? Are they writing more blog content? Are they a little more active within the local area where people know who they are? Are they advertising in certain places you're not? Is their traffic higher than yours? Are they running ads? Identify some of those things with these other guys that you could be doing that they're succeeding with, and just copy it. Unfortunately, they always say that imitation is the best flattery. In SEO, it's the lifestyle. You want to showcase within your site what is working on the search engine, even if it means kind of looking at your competitor and saying, "Yeah, I'm going to do that too." That's a good idea. Alrighty. We can talk about the website pivot, but you know what? I'm gonna close this down. I'll send you guys the slide deck. I think going into changing your website and all of this, it's a lot. We talked about a lot of uh, data and analytics. We talked about concepts. We talked about a ton of different tools. Let's just dedicate the next few minutes and just answer some questions, and see and make sure that everyone is kind of in a good spot going forward.
Oh, sorry.
So,
How do
no,
you
you're good.
how do you view others' analytics?
How do you use view others'
View,
analytics?
view
Yes.
others.
So the one of the only ways that you can do that is through an SEO tool like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz. They're going to allow you to get like a basic domain overview of someone else's site. But one thing that you can easily do with someone else's site in terms of just analytics and I just identifying, when you Google specific core keywords within a local area and you're seeing your competitors ranking above you, chances are it's because they are ranking because they have more traffic than you, or a higher authority score. That's a thing we're not even going to get into. A lot of times it's just traffic, right? So if they're ranking higher than you, chances are they're doing better than you in terms of traffic. So that's one way to start identifying their analytics. But if you really want to dive in, you got to use one of those tools we talked about.
Got another question. Would love
Yep.
to see your live website and where you incorporate your keywords as an example.
Let me, am I allowed to do that? Show my website or could I show
Sure,
a different? Okay.
sure.
All right. I don't want to, I don't want to step on any toes here.
Yeah.
Let me just open up. Could also show like a client's website too, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Um, so let me just share this real quick and let's just look at one page. All right, everyone can see this.
Not yet. Now we can.
Okay. So right here, right? This is my homepage, and my core keyword is right here, Chatham Oaks Growth Solutions. Additionally, I could have right here fractional CTO services, right? My about page, I have a different fringe keyword, modern technology consultants, right? We also have our core keyword, what's a fractional CTO? So right there, that's just an example. But if we were to look at the meta title and meta description, notice what I did, right? Fractional CTO services for SMEs, COGS, that's my core keyword. Um, Chatham Oaks Growth Solutions, that's my core keyword. And here's my core keyword again. But also technology enablement is an amplifying keyword. Again, it's a little complex based on what we talked about today, but that's just one example of H1. H2, you may also want to identify within an H2 your core keyword. And then H3 are small niche keywords, right? Stuff like that. So that is one example. I'm going to stop share because I don't want to just peruse my website. But yeah, that's just one example on how you can format your site based on what we talked about. Focus on the meta title, meta description, H1, your your main header or your page title, and your URL. That's it. That's all you need.
Okay, we got another question. Is it better to have more pages in your main website plus a blog to get core things in, or is minimal page number plus a blog better?
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason on how to build a website. I mean, a lot of times the four basic pages in a blog are what I see most often. I work with a lot of web developers. They build a home, about, services, contact, and then a blog. You can do that. Depends on your industry. I mean, every industry is different. There's some industries that like you might need to house like 16 services on your page. That's okay. It's just making sure that when you're divvying up your site, homepage, core keyword, about page, services, categories page, product categories page, which are basically your main, like those main navigation pages, services, and categories. Um, any other major page on that main header, those are fringe keywords. Finally, all of your products, individual services, and your blog pages, all of your blog, your written blogs, those are for, niche keywords. If you break it down like that, any website structure, it doesn't matter.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. Are there any pro bono or low-cost options for startups looking to access people with SEO expertise?
Score. It's the best one. You're on a workshop with one right now. I would say the easiest way to get involved, and again, you could work with someone like me, is to just contact Score. Another great way to do it is see if there's anyone within your local associations, right? But the number one easiest way to work with someone like myself or another SEO technician or whatever you may need, right? Marketing professionals, tech professionals, people, bookkeepers, anything you need, contact Score, ask for a mentor. You're going to get set up with an incredible mentor, especially the ones in Cape Cod. I'm a little biased. We got some pretty amazing mentors here. And then they'll assign a subject matter expert like myself with the project. We can hop on for 30 minutes or so.
Okay, I don't have the funds to set up a whole new site, but I'm adding new services to my current offerings, photography. Can I add these keywords to the new section I'm about to add to my WordPress blog pages and have them still work effectively?
Yeah, I mean, if you're adding new services, I would try to add them as within WordPress, there's two different types, right? There's the pages and the posts. Pages are typically your core and your fringe keywords. Those are the main navigation keywords we talked about, as well as your homepage. And then there's the posts, which are your blog posts, which are the niche keywords. If you're adding new services, you may, within WordPress, you may want to add new service pages within the pages aspect of your site and just leave your posts to blog posts and just separate it that way. However, any new content that you add to your website is amazing. Like, good on you. Like, just the best thing you can do for your site, if you take one thing away from this, just consistently update your site. You don't have to update your entire site. Go in, update a few words here and there, write a blog post, add a product, delete a product. Just keep it consistently active because that's what Google cares about. If you're not active and someone else is, they're going to prioritize the other person over you every time.
Okay, I think it's just about 12 o'clock and we actually don't have any more questions right now. So I'd like to thank Matt. It was a great program, got a lot of good comments back, great questions. I want to thank everybody for participating today. As I indicated, there will be a video sent to you of this program in a day or so. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us or any SCORE mentor, and they'll figure out how to help you. Thanks a
Yep.
lot. Have a great day. Enjoy the beautiful weather.
Take take care, guys. Thanks again for your time. Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. See you soon.
See you soon.